Stop scrolling for 1 second. I want to ask you something. What's the very first sentence you hear every single morning? Not the first word you think, the first sentence you actually hear out loud in your own ears before your feet even hit the floor. For most people, it's silence, or it's a notification sound, or it's someone in their own language saying, "Did you sleep okay?" Here's the thing nobody tells you. That first sentence decides which language your brain runs on for the next 3 hours. And by the end of this video, I'm going to give you one sentence, just one, that you can say tomorrow morning that will do more for your English than a month of apps did for mine. Stick around, because I'm also going to tell you about the meeting where I said I am agree to a room of 40 people, and why that mistake is the reason this whole method exists. I'm Jack, and this is the English Momentum Podcast. Let me take you back 4 years. I wasn't failing exams. Actually, on paper, I was doing fine. I had a decent vocabulary. I could read a novel. I understood movies without subtitles most of the time. My problem was different. And honestly, I think it's a problem a lot of you have and don't talk about. I could understand English perfectly. I just couldn't produce it fast enough when it mattered. I remember sitting in a client meeting, my manager asking me a direct question, and my brain just stalling. I knew the answer. I knew the words. But somewhere between my brain and my mouth, there was this half-second delay, this fog, and what came out was clumsy, half-formed, wrong. I agree with that, I said. 4 words, grammatically broken. And I watched a junior colleague, someone with objectively worse vocabulary than me, answer the same kind of question smoothly, confidently, without stalling. That night, I didn't think I need to study more grammar. I thought, something is broken in how fast I can access what I already know. It took me about 8 months of trial and error to figure out what that junior colleague had that I didn't. It wasn't more knowledge, it was more retrieval practice, and almost all of it happened without her even realizing it in the first 20 minutes after she woke up. That discovery is what turned into the 5-part system I'm about to walk you through. Everyone I talk to says the same thing. I don't have time for English. But let's actually test that claim, because I don't think it's true, and I think believing it is keeping you stuck. Think about your last 10 minutes before you even leave the house. Coffee, shower, getting dressed, checking your bag. That block of time already exists. It happens whether or not you study English. You are not being asked to find time. You're being asked to redirect time that's already spent. The real issue isn't the 10 minutes. It's that those 10 minutes currently run in autopilot mode in your first language, and autopilot never builds a new skill. So here's reframe number 1, and I want you to actually say this back in your head. I don't need more time. I need to redirect the time I already lose. Quick science detour, and I promise I'll make it useful, not boring. For the first 60 to 90 minutes after waking, your brain is coming out of a stage where it was consolidating memories from the day before. This is well documented in sleep research. Your prefrontal cortex, the part that handles a lot of your inhibition and self-monitoring, is still ramping up. Practically, what that means for language learners is this. You're less likely to freeze up from self-consciousness, and you're more receptive to encoding new patterns. I like to compare it to wet cement. Cement that's already dry. That's your brain at 6 p.m. after 10 hours of decisions, meetings, and stress. You can still write on it, but you have to carve. Wet cement, that's your brain at 7 a.m. You can write into it with almost no resistance, and it holds the shape. That's not an excuse to skip evening practice. It's a reason to stop skipping morning practice, because minute for minute, it's doing more work. Before I give you the 5 habits, I need to give you the one idea that makes them actually survive past day 3. Because I've watched so many people get excited about a routine like this, do it for 4 days, and then quietly abandon it. Not because the habits were wrong, because they had nothing to hold on to them. I call this anchor linking. Here's the idea in one sentence. Never build a new habit that stands alone. Always weld it onto a habit that already survives your worst mornings. You already brush your teeth on your most exhausted, most rushed, most chaotic morning. That's not because you're disciplined about teeth brushing. It's because the action is anchored so deep, it doesn't require willpower anymore. So instead of creating a brand new study English block that needs its own motivation, we attach 5 tiny English actions directly onto anchors you never skip. The anchor drags the habit along with it, even on the days your motivation is at 0. Keep that idea in your head. because every one of the next 5 habits is built this way. The instant you sit up, before your feet touch the floor, narrate your next 5 seconds in English, present tense, like a nature documentary about yourself. I'm sitting up, I'm rubbing my eyes, I'm reaching for my phone, I'm putting it back down. Silly? A little. That's fine. What's actually happening? You're forcing present tense verb structures into your mouth before your brain has switched into your first language for the day. Once that switch happens, usually the moment you read a notification in your native language, it's much harder to pull your brain back into English mode. This habit beats the switch to the punch. Level up version. Once this feels easy, add why. I'm reaching for my phone because I want to check the time. One reason clause. That's it. This is the one that fixed my meeting room freeze up. So pay attention here. While you brush your teeth, pick one small opinion and defend it out loud in English for the full 2 minutes. Coffee is better than tea, and here's why. Mornings are better than evenings. This is the wrong toothpaste flavor, and I will explain myself. The content doesn't matter even slightly. What matters is that arguing forces you to produce connected sentences, not vocabulary lists, but reasons that link to other reasons. That's exactly the skill that failed me in that meeting. Not word knowledge, but the ability to link idea A to idea B out loud, under mild pressure, without stopping to translate. 2 minutes, every morning, defending a ridiculous opinion to your own reflection. And within a few weeks, that stalling feeling starts to disappear because your mouth has already practiced improvising in English hundreds of times before your first real conversation of the day even starts. Whatever you eat or drink first, coffee, tea, toast, fruit, describe it using one sense word you haven't used yet that week, not just good or nice. Push for something specific: bitter, sharp, silky, lukewarm, over-toasted. Here's why this beats a flashcard app. A word you attach to an actual taste or smell gets stored differently in memory than a word you saw on a screen. This isn't a guess. It lines up with what researchers call the encoding specificity effect. Information tied to a rich, multisensory context is easier to recall later than information learned in isolation. When you taste bitter while saying bitter, your brain files that word next to a real physical memory, not next to 40 other random vocabulary words competing for space. Rotate. 3 new sense words a week, every day that week, until they're automatic. By month's end, you've got a bank of 12+ words that will never feel like textbook vocabulary to you, because you didn't learn them, you tasted them. Put on 5 minutes of anything in English, a clip, a song, a podcast, doesn't matter. But you're not just listening. The second you hear one sentence that has a nice rhythm to it, pause and say it back out loud, copying the speaker's exact tone, exact speed, exact stress pattern. This technique has a name: shadowing. And the reason it works is that it trains your mouth and your ear as one system instead of 2 separate skills. Most learners can recognize far more English than they can produce because listening and speaking get trained separately. Shadowing collapses that gap. You're not analyzing grammar in this 5 minutes. You're literally being a mimic, the same way a toddler copies sounds long before they understand meaning. Don't judge yourself if you only catch half of what's said. Catching half and repeating what you caught is still 5 times more useful than catching all of it and saying nothing back. Stop at the door. 1 breath, 1 sentence, said out loud about the kind of day you're choosing. Not, today I will study English, something with actual stakes. Today I'll ask 1 question in the meeting instead of staying quiet. Today I won't apologize before I speak. Today I'll finish my sentence even if I make a mistake. Here's what's really going on with this one, and it's the same insight that eventually got me out of that meeting room freeze for good. People don't get held back by what they don't know. They get held back by which identity they're carrying into the room. Someone who is learning English waits for permission. Someone who speaks English imperfectly on purpose doesn't wait for anything. Saying 1 sentence at your door every morning is a small, repeatable way of choosing the second identity before the day gets a vote. Let's run the whole thing back to back so you can hear what it actually sounds like in real time. You sit up. I'm sitting up. I'm reaching for my phone because I want to check the time. You get to the bathroom, toothbrush in hand. Honestly, tea is better than coffee, and I'll tell you why. 2 minutes of nonsense arguing with your own reflection. You get to the kitchen, first sip. This coffee is a little sharp today. You grab your headphones on the way out, catch a line. The best time to start was yesterday. The second best time is now. Pause, repeat it back, copy the rhythm exactly. And right before you open the door, one breath. Today I'll finish my sentence, even if I mess it up. 7 minutes. No app, no textbook, no vocabulary list, but your mouth has produced sentences, defended an opinion, tasted a new word, mimicked native rhythm, and made one identity-level commitment, all before your actual day has even started. I want to go back to that meeting room for a second, because I think about it a lot. If I'm honest, the version of me who said, I am agree, wasn't missing knowledge. She was missing reps. The boring, repeated, low-stakes practice of just opening her mouth and letting something imperfect come out over and over until imperfect stopped feeling dangerous. That's all these 5 habits are. Cheap reps. Reps you get for free in time you're already spending before the day has a chance to make you self-conscious. Some mornings you'll only manage one of these. Maybe just the doorway sentence said half asleep, half meant. That's fine. The rule I actually hold myself to isn't never miss a day. It's never let it go quiet for 2 days in a row. 1 skipped morning is just a morning. 2 in a row is where a habit actually starts to die. So if you skip one, the only job tomorrow has is to not be a second one. If this helped you, send it to the one friend who always says, I understand English, I just can't speak it. Because that sentence is exactly the problem these 5 minutes are built to fix. And if you want the next episode the moment it's out, hit follow. Because next week I'm breaking down the exact 3 sentences that got me promoted to leading that same client meeting 18 months later. Same time next week, go say your 1 sentence at the door.